Hi, welcome everybody. This is Dr. Madhava Madhireddy, and we are almost coming to the close of our lecture sessions. So this is the week 10, and we will be looking at the implementation of information security. In the last 2 weeks, we learned about cryptography. Now this will be week 10, and then there will be another lecture. So what the implementation phase is primarily accomplished through the changing configuration and operations of organizational information systems. So that means putting things in place. So what does this implementation primarily include? First of all, it will include the policies and procedures that were outlined as for the organization. Secondly, we will talk about the training that is necessary for the people. Then the implementation may also include the changes that you want to make to your hardware, changes to your firewalls and security, hardware security. And then it can also implementation can also include changes you want to make to your software through your encryption, and changes that you want to make to your data through properly classifying the data again. Maybe going through your data and classifying which one is to be secure, which how the level of security that you want to use for your data, and what data can be classified as highly confidential, and so on. So the organization basically translate the blueprint of the information security into a complete concrete action plan. So the information security project management. So in this, we are looking at creating a vision. Once the organization vision and objectives are understood, then it is possible for us to create an action plan. So the major steps in executing such an action plan will be involving planning, creating the plan for the project. Then after you put it into action, then you have to supervise the tasks and the actions, and then will do the wrapping up at the end. So each organization must determine its own project management methodology for information technology projects. So let's talk about the first phase. The first phase will be the developing the project plan. So it is nothing but the creation of the project plan can be done by breaking or by using a breakdown structure. So the breakdown structure is we need to classify the tasks as work to be accomplished, then the assign is, then we talk about start and end dates of a particular project, the amount of time and effort required, the estimated cost and the capital and non-capital expenses. Non-capital expenses, capital expenses, you probably know the financial costs, and then non-capital expenses could be human resources, for example. And identification and dependence among different tasks is one of the tasks depending on the other task, and so on. That could be so basically, each major task is further divided into small subtasks, so that uh, the division, once you divide the work into small bits and pieces, it becomes easier to implement. So if you look at the subtask that is on the extreme left. So now, for example, the first subtask can be contact field office and confirm network assumptions. Then we can the resources that are required for that is would be a network architect, and then we can specify the start date and the end date, how much time is required, how much capital expense is required, how much non-capital expense is required, and or there is it dependent on any other task. For example, the first one does not depend on any other task, so we don't have any number here. So on the second hand, on next one, if you go to purchase standard firewall hardware, this would be the other task, but this task actually depends on the first task being done completely. So it depends on the first task. So each the resources that are required for each of these subtasks are listed here, and the dates are listed here, and the time that is usually required, the estimated effort that is required could be listed here. For example, completion complete vulnerability assessment and penetration test, so that is probably going to take 12 hours as estimated by the action plan. So basically what we are doing is we are creating this project plan example that is identifying what all need to be done, and what is the sequence in which these operations must be done. Does this work, does this plan, does this task, is there any task or subtask that depend on other tasks to be completed? So the project planning considerations, so first of all we need to look at the financial considerations. The financial considerations could be, whatever be the information security, the amount of effort that can be expended depends on the funds available. The project planning primarily, it can depend on several factors like personnel, the time that is available, and the amount of resources. In addition to that, we need to do a comprehensive cost benefit analysis in order for us to implement that. So both public and private organizations, they have budgetary constraints, and they um, act in different ways. So to justify the amount that is budgeted for a security project at either a public or a non-profit organization, it is necessary, and in some cases just useful, to benchmark the expenses of similar organizations. So just look at similar organizations and how much is the cost that is there, how much is the budget that is required. So you just need to take some other example company, and prepare your budgetary considerations. Now, then we're looking at other considerations, project planning considerations. So here the priorities will come into a picture. So the most important information security control calls should be addressed first. They should be scheduled first. Then implementation of controls is guided by which threats and which information assets security comes first. So you just need to prioritize. So what is more important, what needs to be secured immediately, and what can be postponed. So the implementation of the controls is primarily on a priority base. So the time and scheduling considerations are also critical. So the time impacts dozens of points in a development of a project plan. For example, it can time to order, time to receive, time to install, and time to configure the security control, and the time to train the people who are using this, and the time to realize the return on the investment of control. So all of these are the times that needs to be taken into consideration. Then we need to look at the manpower. So if you don't have qualified and trained available personnel, then that will put a lot of strain on how effectively we can create our plan. So it is very important that we have experienced staff, and who knows the existing technologies, and who can develop and implement these policies and training programs. Then we have procurement considerations. So procurement means what are the things that we need to get together, I mean to get for the implementation of the plan. So IT and information security planners must consider acquisition of not only goods but also some services, like for example, you may need some consultancy team or some security professional team to come and work on your information security building and action plan. So many constraints are on the selection process for equipment and services in most organizations. So specifically in selection of which vendors, which products, where to buy these products, and where to buy who are the reliable manufacturers and suppliers. So this is something um, that goes into the decision making of procurement. So these constraints may actually eliminate a technology from a realm of different possibilities. The project planning consideration, if you go further, then we can look at organizational feasibility. So the policies may require time to develop, new technologies require time to be installed, configured, and tested. Employees, they need to be trained completely on the new policies and the programs of the technology, and how the information system and how the information security system program works, and how it affects their lives, how it affects their work and understanding. Then the changes should be extremely transparent to the system users, unless the new technology is primarily based on authentication and verification. So otherwise, we just want to make the changes really transparent to all the users. So then the scope considerations are also important in the project plan. So what is a project scope? It is concerned with the boundaries of time and the amount of time, the amount of manpower, man hours you can call, like number of working hours, let's say, needed to deliver the planned features and the quality level of the project deliverables. Is it on the level of quality, of like how when you are making a delivery, when you are expecting to have a deliverable, so what is the level, like do you want it to be of high standard? And so that is also an important element in determining the scope of the project. In the case of information security, project plan should not attempt to implement the entire security system all at once, so they need to break it down. The need for project management. What is the need for project management? It primarily, project management, it requires a specific set of skills and absolutely thorough understanding of a broad body of specified knowledge. Without that, project management will always fail, right? The most important security projects, they require a trained project manager, a certified CISO, or a skilled IT manager who is very skillful in project management and project management techniques. So the need for project management is also encompasses in implementation in a supervised manner. Some organizations may designate a champion from general management community of interest to supervise implementation of information security project plan. Alternatively, we can also designate a senior IT service manager, or chief information officer to lead that implementation phase. So the ideal solution or optimal solution is to designate a suitable person, whether it is from inside or whether it's from outside. So it needs to be someone, some suitable person the from whatever security information community of interest, that, though they have to be professional in the security management, if information security management, and also they should be very good at implementation of the project. So two skills must overlap. So it is up to each organization to find who that particular leader is for successful project implementation. So then execution of the plan. Once we put all the things into consideration, we put the person, we take the charge, we calculated the time, we estimated the resources, we estimated the budget. Now it's a time to execute the plan. So the negative feedback ensures the progress is measured periodically. So basically, it's like a sprint system. Like whenever you are working on a particular project, so you work on it for a while, and then all the team members will get together and discuss what has gone right, what has gone bad during that 2 week period, and then they can give negative feedback and then refine the next period of work. So that's why the measured results, they can compare against what is expected of them, and do they need to work hard, do they need to work smart, do they need to use different techniques. So all these corrective actions are going to be taken in execution of the plan. So basically, a project manager can adjust several parameters when he wants to change the task. So how much money needs to be allocated, he can change. How much time you can put in, you can change. So we can schedule the impact change, we can schedule the quality and quality of the deliverable. So based on what resources, because as we are working through a certain project, we will learn more and more about that project as we are putting the plan into action. So then we may come across the costs that we may have not anticipated in the beginning. Then say, okay, this may not cost $10,000, it may cost only $5,000. So sometimes we can come to a place where like we need to design a firewall or something, and then at that point we realize that, oh, we underestimated the cost that is required for this, so it is actually going to be $25,000. So basically we can readjust and replan and correct, and sometimes the delivery cannot be done on time. So I say, okay, we thought of finishing this entire thing within 12 weeks, but unfortunately it's going to take more time. It's going to and the delivery and the quality and the quantity of the delivery also can be compromised. Like we may not be able to build up so many systems, or we may not be building up such a robust system. So we may need to change as we start executing the plan. So basically, once we develop a plan, and then the work occurs, and then the progress is measured, and if we have reached it, we have completed it, yes, it's very good. But if we have not completed it, then are we on course to finish it? If not, we need to take like really correction. We need to correct ourselves. We need to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, like, honestly ask questions, honestly take feedback, and then implement the corrective action and do the work again. But if we are on target, if you are just delayed a little bit, that's fine, and then you just need to probably speed up the process what you are doing, and then you continue to measure and monitor the progress as the project is being implemented. So this is basically a negative feedback loop. So as you can see, whenever there is a negative feedback loop, whenever there is a corrective action, when you are not on target, so the corrective action is going to the work, and this becomes a negative feedback loop. The need for project management, at the end, it will be like, once we make an action plan, once we execute the plan, now it's time to wrap it up. So the project wrap up is usually handled as a procedural task, and it is assigned to the mid-level IT or information security managers. So it also includes a collection of documentation, finalizing status reports, and delivering the final report and presentation at the wrap up meeting. So basically it's like, everybody shake hands, open a champagne bottle of champagne, and basically it's party time. So the goal of wrap up is to resolve all the pending issues, critique the overall project effort, like who has done well, whether it is a good effort, whether have we overestimated or underestimated any resources that are required, and then basically draw conclusions on about how to improve the process in case they want to implement and continue this in the future. Then we look at the once we have the system in place, as the component or systems are planned, then we need to make some provisions to make to provisions must be made for changeover from the previous method of performing task to a new method. So if you want to change, obviously you need to make some provisions. The four basic approaches here are like a direct changeover, a phased implementation, a pilot implementation, and parallel operations. Let's look at each of these. So okay, so let us. So the basic approaches are direct changeover. In a direct changeover, that means suddenly, like the shift can happen suddenly over from one methodology to another methodology, from one method of doing a task to another method of doing a task, other performing such a task. So a phased implementation means it is the changeover is divided into small phases. So it can be, so initially a few bits can be changed, then we may inculcate the changes maybe in the hardware, then we may inculcate the changes in the software, maybe inculcate the changes, like at each phase we can do the changes over time. Pilot implementation is, pilot is nothing but like an example, like the first implementation. So it's like the first, like, a pilot episode. If you watch any TV series or anything, so the first episode is called a pilot episode. After the pilot is created, it's going to be it. So basically we create a a pilot plan, and then we implement that bit, and they say yes, it is going well, then we will continue doing the rest of the project. So basically implementing the first phase, that we can call that a pilot. And then we can also do parallel. So we can look at operations that need to be done all parallelly. That means all throughout the same time. That means we need to assign resources such as personnel. We need to assign some budget for all the different operations, so that all of them can run parallelly. So these are the four basic approaches that you can take for conversion of from an old system to a new system. So this is the bullseye model. Like so on the extreme side, like we have policies that encompass the networks, and under, if you go refined, then we're looking at systems. Then if you go further, we are looking at the specific application. So as we are converging from the outside to inside, we are getting narrow and granular. So that's the bullseye model approach. So, and the other one we need to understand is what tasks or what activities we need to outsource to other organizations. Sometimes it makes sense that our technical team or our security team is capable of handling all the data programs, but sometimes they are not. So, in that particular case, we need to check whether any organization can take a part of our security program, and then maybe we'll pay a little bit for them. So due to the complex nature of this outsourcing technique, it is usually advised to hire the best outsourcing specialists, and and only the best can do, and we can retain the best attorneys possible to negotiate, and so basically we need to act very smart. We need to act intelligently. We need to understand what are our deficiencies, and then we, based on that, we can outsource the work. So next we need to look at technology governance and how to control the change. What is technology governance? Technology governance is a complex process an organization uses to manage impact and cost of technology implementation. So whether it is innovation and obsolescence. So innovation means the cost of innovation, the cost of new technologies, and the cost of obsolescence means, like, if you are investing in new technology, how likely is it in the future that it can become obsolete and it will not no longer be useful. So this is all comes under the umbrella of technology governance. So you need to make decisions on how to manage the impact and costs of such an implementation. So whether it is if you want to invest in innovation, if you want to invest in technology, obviously you need to make sure that that is properly governed. And then we need to manage the process of change. Organizations must improve communication. They need their people to coordinate with each other, and so that the unintended consequences are minimized, and that's how the quality of the service can be improved, and that's how we can ensure all the parties are complying with the organizational policies and procedures. The non-technical aspects of implementation, these are all the technical aspects. Now if you look at the non-technical aspects, the other parts of the implementation are not technical in nature. For example, human interface and technical systems, these are primarily non-technical. So how people are trained, how people interact with these technical systems, that those aspects should also be taken into consideration. So basically it's talking about the change. So it is easy to change. It's not easy. It is according to a textbook. You can change the technique, change the hardware, you can change the software, but it is not so easy directly to change the mindsets of the people. So basically we are we need to create a culture of change management as well as considerations for organizations facing any kind of change. So you need to make sure that your people are ready for this change. So if you look further, so basically how to accomplish this? So the prospect of change can cause employees to build up resistance. Resistance means people do not want to change. People are usually inert means they don't want to change it. If they are doing something, they want to keep doing the same thing. So the stress, sometimes people are genuinely stressed. If they want to get into a new work order, that may actually create stress, and that can increase the probability of making a mistake, making an error, or it can create some vulnerabilities. So the resistance to change must be reduced, but the way in which we do this is by empowering our employees, empowering the people who are involved, and build up strong resilience means toughness. Even if they fall down, they have to bounce back, so that's called resilience. So in this we will look at what the Levin's change model is. One of the oldest model. Like, just imagine we have an ice block that has some impurities inside of it. So you can see the impurities, but you cannot take out the impurities without melting the ice blocks. So basically what we do in when an organization has to be restructured, we have to unfreeze. That will be the first phase in the Levin's model. Then we remove the impurities out. That means that would be the moving phase. That is a transformation phase. Then refreezing means rebuilding phase. That means implementing, like, putting the new new order in place. The new That's called refreezing. So you basically, you melt the ice block, you melt the ice block, you remove the component, you remove the impurities, and then freeze the ice block again. So basically that's called a Levin's model for change. It's um it's one of the models oldest organizational change models. So information security certification and accreditation is the next phase. So it may seem that only systems handling secret government data require certification. That's not the case. Every information system that has to comply with the several federal regulating procedures. So like if you are in Australia, you need to make sure that your information security system is complying with certain laws that are governed within that country. If you are working in a university, the university have information security policy that you need to comply with. So basically, the laws that are governing the information systems must be taken very seriously, and they have to be incorporated into building the personal privacy. And organizations should be able to, you need to be able to develop some kind of formal mechanism for validation and certification. So basically, we learned a project management is about moving from security blueprint to an action plan. From the paper, you are putting it into action. From action to implementation. Organizational considerations addressed by project plan, and then we actually briefly looked at the project manager's role, and how what are the skills that is needed, and how he has to manage the change. Then we looked at the technical strategies and models that are required for implementing the change. Then we looked at the non-technical problems, that is that involves the people that the organizations face in the times of rapid change. So I hope that is clear for all of you. It is basically a lot of theoretical work, primarily related to project management, not so much related to information security. But yeah, but it is a mixture. It is something that is absolutely essential when you're implementing information security. So project management and like, you need to have people who has the skills of both as a project manager, and also who understands a lot of information security systems. So I hope you understood, and yeah, I'll meet you in the tutorial class. Thank you.